Hello and welcome back to The Fast and the Curious with me, Betty Glover. We don't have our team principal, Greg James, here, but as always, we have our favourite, our one and only, our paddock princess, Christian Hugel, to help us get inside that mad world of Formula One.
Hello, Betty. It's lovely to have you back here. The last couple of times, because you had a couple of weeks holiday, did you have a nice time?
Yeah, I had a great time.
So
actually, I didn't, but it's okay.
Because you got ill?
Yeah, and it rained a lot.
Okay.
Food poisoning and rain don't go well together.
No, but it meant that you've not been sat in the studio for a while. And so the last couple of times we've been in the studio, I've been doing your job of like the presenting-y bits. And I won't tell you how it went, but Greg did storm off and take our guest with him. So I think
it went well.
I think everyone's glad you're back in that seat.
Yeah, you've kept it nice and warm for me though, Christian.
I like to.
But over the last 2 months, it has been wild. We have had a wild time in Formula One. We've got a drivers' championship that is hotting up. 41 points in it in the constructors. McLaren have overtaken Red Bull. Carlos Sainz has signed to Williams, where Franco Colapinto has replaced Logan Sargent for the rest of the season.
Mercedes announcing Kimi.
Yeah.
Adrian Newey going to Aston Martin.
Big one, that.
Really big one.
Big one.
And we've had plenty of people on the podcast too, haven't we?
Who have we had? George Russell, Mike Crack.
Bradley Lord, the Lord and Saviour.
Channel 4's Steve Jones.
Lovely man.
Leah Block.
Lovely person.
James Vowles.
Lovely man.
Randy Singh.
Lovely man.
Are you going to call everyone a lovely man?
You'll see.
Jack Doohan.
Awful man. Horrible bloke. And you've been away for 2 weeks, if you've missed it on Instagram. So, and got food poisoning, so...
I barely even posted. I don't know why you keep going on about this.
That's true.
You post loads, Christian, when you go on holiday.
Let's just pause here. Producer Jimmy, did Betty not post a lot on holiday?
I felt like I was there with you.
There we go.
It wasn't that bad.
And on my last holiday, I came off socials and posted one Insta story. So
Well-
I think you'll find that I win this round.
Oh, God.
I don't know where that came from.
That was so weird. Should we turn the lights green with that laugh? That was
We did that
very
when Mike Crack was
witchy.
here. You missed it.
I know, I saw
And we
I saw
liked it
that.
as well. We wondered whether we should have gone for a green colour scheme. But
No,
there we are.
I think pink.
We like
Pink's
our
the
pink,
best.
don't we?
So, with all of those headlines, with all of that news, with all of that happening, I feel like now we've got a big break, which is so unfair, actually, because I feel like it's really
We're having such a nice
starting to
time,
get
and now there's
going.
another break. Yeah.
No, now we've got another bloody break. But anyway, now we've got the break. I think it's the perfect time to take stock. Really look back at everything and sort of reflect.
Breathe.
And just breathe, yeah. And you know what that means.
Let's take a minute, podcast listeners. Just breathe in and out. Sorry, about one of them headspace things. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Could I have a career in that? Do you think if the F1 thing goes well?
I think your voice goes a bit too high pitched.
Do you reckon? Okay,
yeah,
hang
you
on.
get a bit too like.
We're having a break from Formula One
No.
to breathe.
You sound like you're presenting classical FM. You sound like you're about to intro Frank
Also,
Sinatra or something. Do you know
Really
what I mean?
enjoyed that was slightly wrong. Classical FM.
Classical.
I think it's classic FM.
That's not. I'm not their target audience.
No,
really,
you're
am
not.
I?
No, you're way too rough.
So I think this is the perfect way too rough.
Yeah. Classic FM's for posh people.
Anyway, I think this is the first. Oh my God. So rude. Anyway, I think this is the perfect time. I'm so sorry for everyone.
Come on.
I think this is the perfect time to get our listeners on.
We're
going to
do an F1 phone in, and with the mood we're in today, what could possibly go wrong? It's another F1 phone in. We used to do these in the garden at Greg's, but we've got a studio for that now. We've gone up in the world. Thank you, Folding Pocket. So we don't need to be in the garden. We can instead be here in the studio and get our listeners to call in.
But you need to do your Jeremy Vine impression before we can even get this started.
Oh, Greg normally does this. If you're a broad listener, Jeremy Vine is a British radio presenter who always presents a phone in and tends to go quite slow when he talks and goes a bit slowly, but then he goes quite quickly and catches on with the words he's lost and says Margaret's in Dagenham. Hello, Margaret.
It's excellent. It's
Thank you.
perfect for what we're going to be doing today.
Greg's
So-
is better. Greg's is better. Mine is fundamentally an impression of Greg. So Greg,
But Christian, Greg's
issue.
not here.
Greg's
We've
not
only
here. I
got
have
you,
to-
so
I
we're
have to
just gonna
fill
have to.
in.
We're
Yeah.
just gonna have to use what we've got.
last week I sat in that seat for you. This week I did Jeremy Vine for him.
You're a flexible
I'm versatile.
person.
In many
Flexible
ways.
and versatile, guys. So we're going to be talking about Oscar Piastri's nicknames, Daniel Ricciardo, maybe leaving Formula One, looks like he is. We're going to be discussing Formula One fan chants, answering some listener questions.
I'm looking forward to that, by the way. We've not done a good old listener question round for a while, have we?
No.
So that'll be fun.
And finding out why somebody has been pulling Red Bull cars out of a skip.
They're not doing that badly. Max nearly won at the weekend. Oh, right, sorry. So, right, I see. Okay, fine. Right, fine.
Okay, let's dive in. Hello to caller number one.
Caller number one, what's your name and where'd you come from?
This is Mica, and I'm from Perth, Western Australia.
Hey, Misha, welcome back. You've come on the podcast quite a few times because you are a massive Danny Ric fan, and you're also a sports psychologist. So we like to sort of tap into your brain and ask you some interesting questions.
Misha is genuinely one of our favourites. Like, Misha, it's lovely
Yeah.
to have you back on.
Thanks, guys. Love to be here.
Well, also, just to give context for any new listeners, you grew up near Daniel Ricciardo as well, didn't you?
yeah, so he grew up in the suburb over from me. So he's a hometown hero, you know, everybody knows him. He's always got time for his fans when he's home. I have seen him before in a restaurant, but didn't have the guts to go up to him. So
Do you know what that gives you? Perfect credentials to talk about Daniel Ricciardo. I can't think of anyone better suited, to be
No,
quite
I
honest
agree.
with you.
course.
After the Singapore Grand Prix, how do you feel? Did you let a tear out at his post-race interviews?
yeah, of course. I mean, the Singapore Grand Prix, to be honest, it's just a bit of a weird vibe at the moment, isn't it? I think the whole way that this has been handled is kind of a bit strange. The Singapore Grand Prix felt a bit like being at someone's funeral and doing their eulogy, but they're still inside the coffin, like knocking, being like, "Oh, I'm still here." So it was kind of a bit, you know, it kind of felt like a bit weird.
Yeah, it was really weird. Christian, do you want to get everyone up to date? Explain the Daniel Ricciardo situation.
So this story has sort of blown hot and cold all season as to what Red Bull have effectively got too many drivers because Liam Lawson deputised for Daniel last year, and did such a good job, and Red Bull have sort of been under pressure to put him in a seat, and they've struggled with how to do this, and Red Bull have been quite open in saying they bought back Daniel thinking that if it didn't work out with Checo at Red Bull, Daniel might be able to slot back into that seat. As it happens, they've opted, rightly or wrongly, to stick with Checo. But the history of that team is for Red Bull to develop young drivers, and they feel they need to develop Liam Lawson, and rightly so. So it feels, by the time this has gone out, it might have changed. By the time you're listening or watching this, it might have changed. But it feels at the moment, as we're recording, like we're waiting on an announcement that it will be Liam Lawson taking over for the rest of the season, rather than Daniel Ricciardo. That's sort of where we are at the moment.
Misha, it feels really sad, doesn't it? Because he's had such a big career in Formula One. He's achieved so much. He's such a big name as well. And it feels like if that was his last race in Formula One, surely he deserves like a much better send-off than that.
I think the issue around this whole situation is kind of two-pronged, right? On one side, you've got, does he deserve the seat? And that's up for very reasonable debate. But the other side is also like, we're not talking about a driver who did 2 seasons here. We're talking about a 13-year veteran who's, you know, won Monaco and been on the podium 30 plus times and is beloved in the field. But on top of that, you know, there's no sort of surprise that there's been a massive surge in fans since Drive to Survive. I include myself in that. That's how I got into Formula One. And if you think about that first season, like, it was all Danny, wasn't it? Like, he was the first driver to give Netflix that access. He was the first driver to create that kind of parasocial relationship where you were really invested in his story. And I feel like that brought in so many new fans. And you know, the knock-on effect that's had for Formula One and for fandom and bringing in new people. And I just feel like when you think about all those things together, he's done so much for the sport. And I just feel like he deserves a better send-off. You know, if that is his last Grand Prix. I just think it would be really sad.
You really get the feeling that it is, don't you? Just the way that he was acting, the way that he was answering questions, the way he didn't get out of his car for ages. He was trying to just soak up every last minute of it. Mica, I can see you look sad just listening to that.
I shed a tear when I was looking at him in the car. My husband was telling me to get a grip, but I was just like, it's so sad, and for someone who's given so much to the sport, I know there's context and there's all these sorts of decisions behind the scenes that we're not privy to, but I just think it could have been handled a little bit better by the team without this sort of ambiguity around it about whether or not he's got a seat or not,
Do you think this is the last we'll see of him driving F1, Christian?
Probably, yeah. So I think that I'm got a lot to say on this. Number one, Misha's right. This could be handled better by Red Bull. This doesn't need to be a long, drawn-out last goodbye. It's not fair for all the speculation to be played out in public. It just seems unnecessary. And even the team principal of RB said that. So I think there's lessons to be learnt there. Number two, Daniel isn't operating at the level he was in the past, and that's a real shame. We've seen that at McLaren. I still think he was doing really well at Renault. He was doing particularly well at Red Bull, and we saw it, and now at RB. That said, I think sort of Daniel's been driving about 5 out of 10 this year. Checo's been 4 or 5 out of 10. Ironically, Red Bull are in this weird situation where Daniel wouldn't be doing any worse than the driver they've got in the main seat, I don't think. I think if you put Daniel in that seat at Red Bull, he wouldn't be doing any worse. Certainly not. I think there's a decent chance he might do a little bit better. Overall, Daniel seems to have reached a point, and it's so sad. I wish this wasn't the case. I wish we still had prime Daniel Ricciardo. It'd be great for the sport. But he seems to have reached a point that we saw when he was alongside Sebastian Vettel, and Daniel came in at Red Bull and outshone Vettel, and it ended up with Vettel leaving the team. It seems that Daniel's reached that point where he's not at the peak of his powers anymore.
It's interesting, isn't it? I also feel like what Daniel Ricciardo was saying afterwards in his post-race interviews, and he was sort of talking about how, he's struggled more and he doesn't know if it was age or the people coming through are just so good, but he just knows that he's not quite up there anymore to his old standards.
It probably is his time to go. It could have been handled better. Is that fair, Misha?
Yeah, I definitely think so. And I think what you said as well about it's also just that the young, hungry rookies are so good, aren't they? And it's not just that we're seeing them in Formula 2 and going, oh, they look good. We've seen them in the cars now. We know Lawson can drive. We know Colapinto can drive. We've seen them do it. So it's kind of gets to the point where it's like, does someone else deserve that seat? Are there younger drivers coming up who deserve a chance now to be the next Daniel Ricciardo,
Also, I've interviewed Daniel loads of times. He's always been so delightful and so lovely to talk to. As I adore this sport, watching some of his overtaking manoeuvres, the way he stormed onto the scene when he first got into the Red Bull seat, seeing him win races, he was so exciting to watch drive. His personality, he's hooked fans in. He has been great for this sport, and if this is the last we see of Daniel Ricciardo, I hope he continues to be an ambassador for Formula One, and we as F1 fans need to remember just how good he was, because if he'd had the right car in other circumstances, he could have in his peak won a world title, I believe.
He's had some iconic moments as well that have gone viral, like him riding that horse into the Austin, Texas paddock. Can you remember when they were on those things that you sit on and you boing along with?
I believe they're called
Space
space
hoppers.
hoppers. Yes, thank you, Misha. Yes,
when he was racing Lando and ended up hitting Lando in the head with it.
He's good
that
fun, and you need
amazing
that.
video of him going into the pool.
As I say, I think there's a small chance it's not the last we've seen of him. I still think it's unlikely. But that is F1. It's a harsh business.
Misha, as a qualified psychologist, right? What would you be saying to him? What advice would you be giving to him?
I think, he even in his reflection recently, he's been talking about how he's in a much better place now than he was a couple of years ago mentally. And I do think you can see that. I think at this point, if it is the end, he knows he's given everything to the sport. He knows that he did his best. And I think my main thing to say to him would to be not... You can torture yourself a little bit, can't you, thinking about the decisions you could have made if I'd gone here, if I hadn't gone here, if I'd done something differently. But at the end of the day, it gets to a point where you can't focus on that, and you just have to focus on the things that you did do and the things that you're proud of. And he's got a lot to be proud of.
Misha, that's but not just saying this. I've agreed with every single word you've said. You are brilliant on this podcast. So, Misha, we'll definitely have you back on again soon. Thank you for taking
Thanks,
the time to join us.
guys.
It's always really great to get your insight. Thank you, Misha.
Thanks, Misha.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
Lovely chatting to Misha. Let's get another Australian on, shall we, Christian? Line 2 should be Morgan. Morgan, hello.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you guys?
We're good, thank you.
We're very good, thank you, Morgan. Morgan, thank you for joining us. You are in actual Australia, aren't you?
I am. I am in Brisbane. It's about 9:30, but it's been a warm day for spring.
Oh, it's miserable here.
It's not that bad. It's a little bit sunny.
It was
in London,
this
but-
morning.
it's
Anyway,
all-
away from the weather.
Yes.
What do you want to talk to us about, Morgan? I feel like you want to talk about Oscar Piastri. Is that right?
Yeah, there's a few things I want to ask, but I think we should start with Oscar Piastri and some nicknames.
Let's do it.
Now, for anyone who's missed this, we were sort of trying to come up with a nickname for him the other day, weren't we? Because obviously plenty of drivers have them. And none were quite sticking. Don't think that you were on holiday, Betty. It was me and Greg sort of trying to come on up with nicknames.
Yeah, it was after his win in Baku, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Greg came up with Wizard of Oz, which I thought was amazing, and you didn't get that.
No, but I'm quite a slow man, so maybe that was just me.
Yeah, Wizard of Oz I thought was brilliant. Plenty of people liked it. So that is an option for a nickname for Oscar. But there are loads of suggestions. Morgan, you sent in some suggestions. What's going through your head?
I sent in one that I've actually found on TikTok, so I can't claim credit to it at all. But it was Webber's Revenge because his manager is Mark Webber.
Oh, yeah.
It's good, that. So for anyone who's slightly more new to Formula One, Mark Webber is an Aussie driver who he could well have won a world championship. He was right in the world championship fight. I think it was 2010 off the top of my head. Might have been 11. But also he sort of felt a lot that he maybe didn't have Red Bull's full backing compared to Seb. He was Sebastian Vettel's teammate at the time. So that, I guess, is where Webber's Revenge comes in. Can I pitch one to you, Morgan?
Go ahead.
The one that I've seen again on TikTok, people messaging me on Instagram a lot that I really like, especially, and you pointed this out in the Singapore post-race debrief, and Lando found this out the other day. His overtaking is just like, he's brutal.
Yeah.
He's like on it with his overtaking. I do like Silent Assassin
Silent Assassin is really good.
because he just assassinates people on track and he's so quiet and calm.
But I don't think it sort of relates to Australia enough. So someone called Patty, who is also from Australia, messaged us saying something like, what about the Great Barrier Chief? Which I think is outstanding. Morgan, what do you
That's
think?
cool.
That's good, isn't it? The Great Barrier Chief.
And McLaren have joined up with the Great Barrier Reef Foundation to help out with the reef as well.
Oh
my
God.
word.
How did you know that? I didn't know that.
Got Sophie Ogg on the podcast over here. This is fantastic.
Perfect then. So that does link up really well.
Just a couple of other suggestions that we've had. Tim said the wombat is native to Australia, chill and docile, but surprisingly quick when they need to be.
Oh, yeah, nice.
I like that, Tim.
And those claws are very sharp.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
good.
Yeah.
Good
Okay,
from you,
nice.
Morgan. Tommy says, similar to me, the baby-faced assassin. Again, it works. It does work. Olivia suggests chill master. I mean, he is so chill. That's what Greg's always said. Morgan, how are these sitting with you? Are there any you'd like to pick?
I think the wombat is very good. They're very like, you look at a wombat and you go, oh, that's nice, but don't go up to them out in like the bush because they're very fast and those claws are very sharp.
It's
that's
quite
good.
boxing name. Oscar the Wombat Piastri. Do you know what I mean?
In the blue corner.
Yeah.
Patty also suggested Minister of Defence.
I feel like that's been used a few times.
Yeah,
I think
maybe.
that has to be Alex Albon. He's the one that he gets
Yeah.
the Williams in the position where it shouldn't be, and he gets the car super wide. I think Alex Albon could be the Ministry of Defence. But they're all very good. But okay, the
Should we-
Wombat has won out of here.
Yeah, the Wombat.
Yeah.
Okay, that is our official nickname for Oscar Piastri. He is now called the Wombat.
Do we know if Oscar's ever moved to New York because he's got problems with his sleep?
Morgan, do you get that?
I do.
I love that she doesn't laugh. She just says, I do, yes. Yes. Unfortunately,
I try
do.
and not laugh at Christian, but sometimes it does just come out. Is there anything else you want to talk about, Morgan? Anything that is taking your fancy? Any questions?
I had a couple questions that I wanted to ask the both of you, actually.
Ooh, yeah, go for it.
So they're a bit more serious questions, but Betty, what advice would you give to a woman beginning her journey into motorsports journalism? And would you have given that advice to your younger self?
Oh,
good question.
great question. My advice would be, it's a hard one. I feel like there's loads of ways that you can sort of get into motorsport journalism now because you can do so much on social media and like build your own portfolio. But my biggest advice would be back yourself. Always be yourself. Don't watch anybody else and be like, I want to try and be like that person and copy the way that they are, because you won't be successful then. You'll be successful if you're yourself, and just start building contacts, like talk to people, get advice from people, take people's numbers, emails. You just never know when that contact might come in handy. And just keep trying, keep knocking on that door because it will open. One day it just will open.
I interviewed someone from McLaren the other day called Emil Chankaya. She works on the downforce team, and she decided she wanted to work in Formula One. And she sent, and she didn't wait for a job opportunity to come up. She contacted teams and went, I want to work for you. Here's what I do. And sort of, she didn't wait for an opportunity to come up. She went out and got it herself. And I thought that was really, really good.
I feel like you've got to create those opportunities for yourself, and you've got to put yourself in a position where when an opportunity does arise, you are the best person for it. And the only way you can do that is by like carving out little, I don't know, spaces for yourself, trying to create content where you can. It's a really competitive industry. It's so difficult, isn't it? But if you keep trying, I believe that you will get there.
Awesome, thank you.
Are we happy with Betty's advice?
Betty's advice is wonderful. Betty's advice makes me want to ask for her email.
Oh, do! I'll give you my email after.
It's
don't worry.
Betty dot... No, I'm not going to do that on the podcast. And her mobile number is... And she keeps the keys. No. We will make sure you get Betty's email address. I'm quite happy to give that to you, even if she doesn't, because she's off camera. She's quite a different person. She's quite cold. So I'll make sure
Okay.
Oh my God.
I get
I'll
that to you,
keep it in
Morgan.
mind.
I'm not, Morgan. I'm not.
Yeah, as soon as this is recording, she'll just go very stony face. And don't make me talk to her. That's Betty is the least like that ever. And Morgan, did you say you've got one more?
Yes. Would you change that advice at all?
Great question. I'd sort of relaxed thinking that I'd like you got this one, Betty, and then no, now Morgan's doing it. I mean, no, I wouldn't change. I mean, Betty is one of the best people I've ever worked with, and as much as we take the mickey out of each other on this podcast, she is an outstanding sports broadcaster. Everything Betty's just said there is completely true, especially the line about backing yourself. And also, I think the only thing I'd say is if you're going into broadcasting or want to get into Formula One, and we talked about this a little bit on the episode with James Vowles that we did about getting into Formula One. Go and listen to that or watch that if you've missed it. But is be prepared to recover from knockbacks. And just because someone says to you, the amount of times, like I was told I'd never be a presenter, I was told I'd never be a journalist. Like I've been told all of this stuff in my career and somehow found the sort of strength to go, okay, you don't think I can do that, but I know I can, so I'll go somewhere else and try and prove it. I think that would be my biggest advice, that if you think you're capable of doing something, you might have to be prepared to not take no for an answer for a bit.
Because if someone doesn't like you, someone else will. It's just what you think's good. People think different things are good, right? So you've got to back yourself and just keep going and going and going. But you've got your own motorsport sort of website, haven't you?
I do.
Like you're already being proactive. You're already on it.
Plug it, Morgan. Where can we find you? Where's all that stuff?
The best place to would be to go to my Instagram, which is Morgan L. McKenna, because it doesn't come up when you Google it. So it's called My Chicane, and the link is in my bio.
Ah, she's done this before.
Go out and follow Morgan. Morgan, honestly, thank you for your questions and your nicknames. Really lovely to chat to you, and come back on again. Really, really enjoyed chatting to you. Appreciate you staying up late at night in Brisbane to talk to us. We really appreciate it.
That's good. Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks, Morgan.
Bye.
Betty, we've got more people to hear from, but let's have a bit of a breather. Back to our... Is it ASMR, do they call it?
No, but that's when you like hear sounds.
Oh, no, I don't like that. That weirds me out. I won't do that. Let's have a breather from the phone lines for a second and go through some listener questions. Greg gets annoyed if we don't do enough of these, and there was one episode where we said we were going to do listener questions and did one.
That was producer Jimmy's
We'll
fault.
open our post bag for our single question. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a new feature we're calling More Than One Listener Question. Let's go.
Right, I really like this one. This first one is from Nick. He says, did you see this season coming? I didn't, actually. We're only 18 races in, only 6 races left, and neither of the 2 titles are decided. Compare that to last season when Red Bull won it at the Japanese Grand Prix and Max had the title done and dusted by now. It is so exciting.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Nick. It's a really good question. What I predicted last year was that Red Bull would still win the majority of races, but we'd have more Mercedes and Ferrari wins and possibly the odd McLaren win. I thought we'd see, historically, when a team tends to dominate, the next season, it's hard to maintain that domination year upon year upon year. And historically, we've never really seen the level of dominance we had from last year. So did I expect more wins from other teams this season? Yes, I did. Did I expect Red Bull to win fewer races? Yes, I did. But did I expect Red Bull's car to become this difficult to drive this quickly? No, definitely not. That's really surprised me. The sort of rate of decline and how long we've gone without a Red Bull win. Didn't expect that. And then also what I didn't expect was McLaren's rise so quickly. I thought they might win the odd one this year because obviously they were getting podiums towards the end of last year, but I didn't for a minute expect to be in a situation where we'd get to 3/4 of the way through the season and it'd be like McLaren are the quickest car, because for all we've sometimes criticised them this year for not nailing everything, we should remember that their sheer rise has been rapid, and I didn't expect that.
The start of last season, McLaren was so bad.
Well, they were in Bahrain 2023. They
Awful.
were the slowest car. Yeah.
But the thing that I love about this season, we're talking about the 2 titles, and you've sort of got, you know, McLaren and Red Bull at the top. And yeah, McLaren probably edge it. But the thing that I find the most exciting is that you're going into a Grand Prix now, and there's really like 4 teams that could win it, because you've got Ferrari as well, and Mercedes went through a good spell.
I was in Bahrain for pre-season testing. Red Bull looked dominant. First few rounds of the season, Red Bull looked dominant. And I still thought, I don't think they're going to win every race like last year, or every race bar one like last year.
I did.
But I thought we'd get more winners. I just didn't expect. Red Bull have fallen more than I thought they would. McLaren have risen more than I thought they would. And actually, to be honest, Mercedes and Ferrari are sort of where I expected them to be. But yeah, the sheer rate of Red Bull's decline has massively surprised me. But Nick, parts of this do directly correlate with where we've seen F1 history before, and parts of it really don't. I can't remember such a rapid rise like McLaren for a long, long time.
I love it. Take my money. I'm fully in. I'm involved. Like I'm obsessed with this season.
It's funny that there's a lot of new people joining the podcast all the time, and you're very welcome. But there's a lot of people who've been with us since the very start who will have seen, you know, the whole point of this podcast originally was me sort of guiding you and Greg through it, and you and Greg being like, Greg was more into it than you. You know, Greg, like a bit into it, not too into it. And you are fully in now, aren't you?
Yeah, I love it. It's good. It's great.
It's good. I like this F1 stuff.
It's all right. No, I've always been interested by it, but loads of things, for whatever reason, put me off. So I never got fully, jumped into it. Do you know what I mean? Anyway, Johnny says, I've been listening since day one. Johnny's a day oneer. Go on, Johnny.
Yeah, well done, Johnny.
He says, I know this might be a simple question, but please can you explain clean and dirty air? What does it mean? Christian, do this quickly. Quick fire, remember.
You didn't say quick fire at the start.
Quick fire questions.
All right, well, fine. F1 cars have to become effective at cutting through the air. That's how they go fast. It's how they create downforce. It's how they stick to the track. That enables them to go through corners faster. But as the cars push air behind them, it becomes like turbulence on an aeroplane. When you go through turbulence on a plane, that's the plane cutting through windy air and the plane moves up and down. That is exactly the effect that Formula One cars have. So as the F1 car cuts through the air, it pushes air behind it, that it's moving around. And therefore, if you're behind that car, it can be harder for your car to generate its own downforce and its own grip. That's what dirty air is. And it's why you hear commentators say it's harder for this driver to overtake because they're stuck in the dirty air. They're not able to drive at their full potential pace because they're stuck in this turbulent air that the car in front's creating. Whereas if you are, driving in what they call clean air, you've got nobody in front of you, and that's why you get overcuts and undercuts with pit stops, because someone moves out the way in front of you and you're free to go at your own full pace, and it unlocks potential.
Okay.
You with me?
Interesting, yeah.
You don't look like you're fully with me, I'll be honest with you.
No, I am with you. I understand.
Producer Jimmy, makes sense?
Yeah.
Producer Jimmy's happy.
Nice.
Studio team, makes sense? Yeah, okay, yeah, right, good.
Well done, Christian.
Cheers.
Talking of producer Jimmy's got a question.
Oh, yeah.
Are you ready, Jimmy?
Jimmy, welcome.
Do you want this microphone or?
Well, you're going to come on to
Question
Betty.
go into Christian.
Okay, welcome to Producer Jimmy to the podcast. People like it when you come on, we get messages.
People love producer Jimmy.
I went through this episode prepping it, and we've got about 7 listeners on, and there's loads of questions. But I did ask you this question in the pub the other week, and I thought your answer was really good.
It was good.
And it is definitely something that other people have thought about as well. You know the 5 lights out and away we go?
Yes.
How is that done? Because my thinking is, if it's always the same difference between lights out and away we go, Lando Norris, for example, sitting on pole, could practice that. Be like, right, it's 0.2 seconds. I know when to go.
That was happening in the 90s. People
no.
were actually getting it. And this is probably one of the questions I get asked most. So,
Am I staying here?
Yeah.
do you want to stay,
Stay there
perched?
for a
You look
bit.
quite awkward.
Oh, no, I'll stay awkwardly perched.
Okay,
for a
you
bit.
stay awkwardly perched. Jimmy, welcome to the podcast. And to answer your question, so the 5 lights are computer automated. That never changes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, same time difference. That's a computer system, 5 lights. But it is randomly generated in terms of the length of the gap between the 5th light going on and the lights going out. Obviously, when the lights go out, the cars go. And that can be anywhere between 0.2 seconds and 3 seconds.
Ooh.
And that is randomly generated.
Has it
It
ever
would have
been?
to be,
Sorry.
wouldn't it?
Oh,
Has-
okay, it was all
you know,
going off. Let's go to Jimmy
It's like
first. Jimmy.
question time.
It is like question time.
Talk to the
Gentleman in the
Prime
denim
Minister.
jacket,
Has
Jimmy.
it ever been the full 3 seconds?
Yeah. You'll hear commentators go, "Oh, they were kept for a long time at the lights." Yeah, that does happen.
Wasn't
in
that
close.
recently? It
Oh,
happened really recently.
Yeah,
It
I
was
mean, it's 24
ages.
races a year, so you do see it. And there was also, I can't remember which race. There was a time really recently where it was like, "Oh my god, they're going straight away." So yeah, you've got to be, as soon as you see that 5th light, you've got to be ready to go. But you could also be waiting 3 seconds, which doesn't sound long. But when you're sat on the grid and you hear the engine noise, that's a long old time. So yeah, that is 0.2 and 3 seconds, producer Jimmy.
Great. Thanks for indulging me. I'm going to go away now.
Jimmy, you go back to your perch. Thank
Okay,
you.
bye.
You learn something new every day, don't you, Jimmy?
And I think we should go back to the phones. And line 3 is Danny. Hey, Danny.
Hey, Danny.
Hi,
Whereabouts are you then in the world?
I am in Singapore.
Oh, I did think it looked very dark outside behind your McLaren-coloured beanbag that I can see that you're sat on.
And also, Danny, you've been on before. We spoke to you after the Dutch Grand Prix last year at the beach bar.
Yeah.
And that means that was like last year, wasn't it? As if that was more than a year ago. I remember
Yeah.
that so clearly, you being sat on the beach, Danny, and at first struggling with your signal. So welcome back to the podcast.
Thank you.
How was the Singapore Grand Prix then, Danny? Because I'm assuming you were obviously there. That's why you're in Singapore.
The Singapore Grand Prix was a lot of fun. The race was not as exciting as I hoped, but the whole weekend was very good.
What's it like, Danny? It's one that I've always wanted to go to. I mean, it's the first ever night race the sport did. It looks spectacular on the telly. What's it like as a spectacle and as an event to be at?
It's like a massive festival weekend. So there's loads of entertainment on, lots of stuff on the track, off the track, good food, good drinks.
Oh, so you've got the atmosphere. What is on your T-shirt?
It's some Singapore otters on a racetrack.
Oh, that's cute.
So for those who are not watching on YouTube, it's how many otters is it? It looks like it's at least 3. Oh, there's more. 1, 2, 3, 4 otters, and they're on a racetrack. Are Singapore otters a thing, Danny? Forgive my naivety and frankly ignorance. I didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah, we have lots of otters running around the city causing trouble.
Oh, what was the animal that I enjoyed the running of?
The lizard.
The lizard, that was it. Yeah, so otters and lizards in Singapore.
And I love it. I love otters. I'm obsessed with otters. I think they're the most incredible animal. I need to go to Singapore so I can go and see
That's
them.
another Betty line for the ages. I love otters. I'm obsessed with
We're talking
otters.
about otters. It's not exactly like random, is it?
The fact you like otters is definitely random.
Is it? Is it, Danny?
No, I think they're very cute. Although the ones in Singapore are a bit naughty.
Oh, are they?
Are they? Why? Are they like, they have asbos and stuff?
Yeah, some of them got into a shopping centre recently.
Really? Oh, I love that. Are you a McLaren fan, Danny?
Max Verstappen.
You're a Max Verstappen fan. Oh, I mean, how do you feel? Are you nervous about the end of this season then?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. All right, Danny, good to have you on. Yeah, I am. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, rightly so, rightly so. But Danny, you didn't want to talk to us about your Max Verstappen nerves. I mean, I don't think there's any need to go into that any further. We all know why. You had something musical to talk to us about, I believe.
So during the race, we're singing "Hot to Go" because they were playing that at the racetrack.
By Chapel Roan, we know that well.
I'd had a few tequilas and I got the spelling wrong, and we realised that it very easily translates into a Hot Toto song.
Oh,
All right, so
okay.
Danny, you're going to earn your Fast and Curious stripes here. I'm struggling to remember the song. How would that sound, Danny? If you were to sing that, how would that go?
I can only apologise because my singing is not what I'm good for. But HOTTOTO, you can make us hot toto.
Oh, I like it. HOTTOTO.
You can. Oh, sorry. What's the next bit?
Well, Danny says you can make us hot toto, but maybe we could change that.
The next line is "You can take me hot to go."
Yeah, so then Danny says you can take me hot toto.
So the next line, what could we do? The next line, right? Okay, so we need to get at Fast Curious Pod. We need
to complete this.
There's potentially a parody
Because
in
I
this.
don't mind you can take me hot toto, but I feel like we could make it better. Something else.
Yeah. We were wondering if we could get like throwing headphones onto the floor into the verse.
What
headphones
about?
will be thrown. Okay, there's something here, isn't there? There's something here.
What about HOTTOTO? It's lights out and away we go.
Yeah, good. It's really good.
What do you
it's really
think, Danny?
good. There
Nice.
is. I might try and write some lyrics to this. I
What
do
was wrong
like a
with
song
that?
parody.
What was wrong with that?
That's what I mean.
Oh, and carry it
nothing
on.
wrong with that. I mean, carry it on.
Well,
we
so
can't
then-
just do 2 lines. It's not going to be enough, is it?
Yeah, no, we should actually make this into a song.
That's what I mean. Yeah,
Right,
yeah,
sorry.
yeah.
HOTTOTO.
She's off again.
Sorry, it's
Oh, but also, producer
can't
Jimmy's
stop
just told
slapping
Betty
the
off for
chair.
smacking the chair because of the microphone,
it's
so
my
we'd like
beat.
to apologise.
Sorry, can't do it without the beat.
Danny, if you come up with any more lyrics, will you let us know, please?
Yeah, I'll message you.
If you need to drink tequila to be an inspirational, so long as you, do it responsibly and don't operate any heavy machinery or drive afterwards, we'd be fine with that too.
Great.
Yeah, I think maybe have a couple of shots and then get back to us.
Responsibly.
The creativity will start flowing then. Do you know what I mean? Thank you, Danny. We love that.
Danny, anything else you would like to share? Any questions you'd like to ask before you go?
You put me on the spot now.
Oh, you don't, Danny, you don't have to, by all means. It's more just while you're here and you've got an open forum. Anything you want to ask, you're more than welcome to.
Do you think Red Bull can make that car go any better in the next 3 weeks?
The simple answer to your question, Danny, is yes, I do. There are whispers in and around the paddock that by going back to basics a little bit, and sometimes when upgrades in Formula One haven't gone to plan, sometimes you need to downgrade again and go, right, okay, so we'll take it back to basics a bit and see where we were. Because remember, you know, look at Baku. Max found that car really difficult to drive. Now, he's very good at taming wild cars. That's why he's been so far ahead of Checo in the last 2 years. But Max was struggling more than Checo in Baku. So there does seem to be some quiet confidence from Red Bull that they can make a step forward. And the fact that Max came second in Singapore, a historically bad track for Red Bull, it wouldn't surprise me, you know, if we had another Red Bull win before the end of the season. And as I say, there does seem to be some optimism that they can improve it in Texas. And Lando said we shouldn't write Red Bull off too much. So yeah, I don't think all is lost from a Red Bull perspective. I really don't.
Max drove so well in Singapore, didn't he? You must have been buzzing.
Yeah, compared to Friday, it looked like he was going to come nowhere. So yeah, he really pulled it together.
Yeah.
He did.
Danny, thank you. Excellent song lyrics, excellent otters, excellent question. Lovely to talk to you. Thanks, Danny.
Excellent beanbag.
Thanks.
Cheers, Danny.
Bye, Danny. Hey, Joe, T-T-O-T-O. It's lights out and away we go.
You do like that, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't? Why are you not singing it?
I'm sorry. To be honest, I've got a bit of every time I sing on this podcast, Greg finds it
Are you getting a bit
staggering
embarrassed?
that I can't. Like, Greg finds it amazing that I can't sing.
Well,
He's
go on,
like,
sing that. Hey,
Joe,
Joe.
T-T-O-T-O. It's lights out and away we go.
Yeah, that's all right.
With it, yeah, but if Greg was here, he'd be making it into a massive thing, and he'd be like, no, that's not the right line. Greg finds it unfathomable that human beings can't hold a note, and it's not because Greg thinks everyone can sing; they just have to be taught how. I don't. I think
You think you're tone deaf?
I just think I'm tone
I don't
deaf.
think that was awful, though.
Well, thank you.
I think that was all right.
Greg would. Greg would be like,
Jimmy went,
yeah. Greg would be like, that's the worst any human being's ever sung, and make me repeat it 9
yes,
times.
but Greg's not here. So
Right, sure.
there we go.
Away from singing, thankfully, the George Russell Community Notice Board is where we deal with the little bits of sort of paddock news, the community bits of news that we think need to be addressed. And the reason the feature's called that, if anyone's just joined us, is because George Russell would be the person in the F1 paddock who would run a community notice board. He just would. So, Betty, what do we need to talk about this week?
And that's not an insult to George Russell,
Quite the
by the way,
opposite,
because
no,
I
he's
think if you run
responsible.
a community notice board, then you are a very responsible person.
You wouldn't give it
very
Alex Albon,
on it,
would you? It'd be
very
chaos.
organised. Right, we're going to start with one thing that should probably just have a board of its own. Like, it should just be there in its own presence. The Kylie Minogue has been in touch with the podcast. So can you believe that?
No, it's just the greatest thing to have ever happened to this podcast and, in fact, my life.
So if anyone missed our last episode, basically the Singapore debrief, you will have noticed that Kylie was referenced numerous times by Christian Hugill because she was waving the checkered flag at the end of the Singapore Grand Prix. It had a massive impact on Christian, didn't it? You couldn't
A profound
stop
impact, one would
talking
say.
about Kylie Minogue.
Well, she's a
And
queen.
I think that was because the race wasn't as exciting, so you just sort of focused
Also,
on Kylie
I've just
the
rediscovered a
entire
love
time.
for her because I saw her in Hyde Park this year and she was amazing. And I really want tour tickets. And me and my friend Ian were trying to get tickets this morning before coming here and we failed. So I really want to go and see the tour. So
apologies.
I'm a huge Kylie fan. So it was great to see our queen
Sorry
there.
about that. I know you're a huge Kylie
Oh my
fan
God.
because you referenced her lyrics 14 times in our debrief. And,
There were 14
and
Kylie lyrics.
13 of them went over my head. Like, I didn't even notice.
You know, mutual friend Jamie
Yeah.
got a picture with Kylie at the Singapore Grand Prix.
I know he
I've
did.
never been more jealous. Never been more jealous.
But anyway, Kylie herself commented on our video. Kylie herself. Now, look, I like to think that that's not Kylie's team. That is her.
No, it's definitely her.
Sat there on her sofa, scrolling,
Imagine if Kylie
scrolling
Minogue
through
knows
Instagram.
who I am. Imagine.
Yeah. Imagine. But that's
Imagine.
pretty cool, isn't it?
I just can't get it out of my head.
No, we're not doing this. We're not doing this. I'm not actually doing this again.
We're not doing this again.
So Kylie's going in the centre of our community notice board.
Oh, it's just such a great thing. Kylie interacting with the Fast and the Curious. We've been on the chase. We've had
been on
Kylie
the
Minogue
chase.
references. Oh my God, this podcast is just going from strength to strength. It's
Yeah.
just incredible.
And
We've
Chapel
got
Roan's going to be in touch because we've just remixed her song and it's amazing.
Chapel Roan's definitely going to be in touch.
Yeah, it's all happening for us,
Oh
guys.
my God,
Just
what a
can't-
time to be alive. I tell you what, I don't know why Ferrari don't come on because even Kylie Minogue are referencing us. Like, it can't get any better.
Ferrari are missing
They
out.
really are.
Was that a lyric again? No? Okay. Carry on. Talk to me about Peter, because Peter's going on our notice board as well.
He is. So next then on the notice board is... I just think we should put Peter on with no...
Just Peter.
No, just
We've
Peter.
got Kylie, but like,
Next
listen
on
to
the
Peter.
notice board,
and,
it's Peter. And finally... No. Right, we'll give a bit of explanation.
Peter is in
Peter!
convo with
Come on, everyone. You know Peter. Peter.
Peter. Our good friend Peter.
Her good friend Peter. Peter is on the notice board because last time you missed a debrief episode at the end, because you weren't here, you're still laughing at Peter, aren't
I
you?
just can't, yeah.
At the end, I took the opportunity of you not being here to geek out about models with Greg. Now, anyone who watches on YouTube will see some models on our shelves behind where Betty sits. They're my models. I've got a collection of F1 models at home.
They're my models.
They're my models. And when this podcast inevitably dies, I'll be taking them back. So
Inevitably dies.
Also, Greg, so I collect model F1 cars. Greg loves models as well. He collects them from like his childhood of like the Thunderbirds TV series. Me and Greg love a model, and you can't see this, but
No, I can't stand it.
the
to be
listeners,
honest.
oh my God, I got so many DMs. The podcast got
Did you?
DMs. Greg got DMs. People love model chat. So this should be away from the community notice board, Jimmy. Model should be its own.
No, but Peter's story goes on the notice board because... Are you going to explain Peter's story?
Should we let Peter explain why he's on the notice board?
Yeah, let's do it.
Peter!
Hey guys, it's Peter here. I was inspired by your model chat recently, and I've also been doing a lot of housework. So recently went to the tip just to get rid of a few bits, and funnily enough, in the corner of my eye, I saw a little Red Bull F1 car from a few years ago. As it turns out, it was the RB7 of Sebastian Vettel with a little number 1 on it. So I was obviously with my girlfriend at the time, and I said to her, "Oh, there's a little car over there. Should I go grab it?" And she was like, "No, I'd be absolutely mortified if you do." So I went to the assistant and said, "Look, can I go and grab that?" And he said, "Okay, I'll turn the other way, but there's a hook over there if you want to go fish it out." So I did, and my girlfriend went and hid away in the car. But yeah, very happy with my little find. I think in any other circumstance where you're talking about fishing stuff out of a tip, it's generally probably not good. But in this scenario, I was well chuffed with it.
If you're not watching on YouTube, go now. Look at how good that model that Peter has fished out of a skip is.
I mean, that is cool.
It's amazing. And one of my favourite things about model collecting... What a sentence.
Christian is 35 going on about 92.
Christian is 33. Can you stop aging me? Christian is just turned 33.
Right.
One of my favourite things about model collecting, where was I, is when you've got one really cheap that someone doesn't know what they've got, and you find it on eBay or Vinted or something, and it's like, oh my God, I bought this for £10 and this is worth like 6 times more. That's the ultimate example of that. To have found it in a skip. Someone could have said, what Peter's holding, that's between 50 and 80 quid's worth, and he found it in a skip.
Bargain, Peter.
Oh,
well done.
Peter, I'm obsessed.
Do you know
this
what?
is so good.
Christian, your love of models has inspired people far and wide. And actually, I've got a present for you.
Have you actually?
Yeah. Give me 2 seconds.
Honestly, while Betty's getting it, they just make me very happy. I don't know what it is about it, but like they get on my little display in my little office where I work from home, and I just look at them and they just make me happy. And they're on the old liveries of years gone by, remind me of the sport. Oh, I love a model.
I think close your eyes, Christian, for this.
Oh, I've got close my eyes. Oh my God.
You're holding this in your hands. This has come from Williams because they listen to the model chat. Williams love models, and they've gifted this. It is sort of a present for you, but it is also going to go on our display.
Yeah.
But you can take it home at the end of
the podcast.
Whenever this
It
podcast
feels.
finishes.
Can I have my eyes?
What do you think it is first before you open your eyes?
It really feels like a model box.
Okay, but what do you think's in the box?
Well, I'm guessing it's probably going to be a car, isn't it? I mean, it's not going to be Franco Colapinto's foot. It's probably, if it's from Williams, it's going to be a model of a car. I think. I hope.
What car?
A Williams?
Okay, open your eyes.
Oh my God! Oh my God! It's stunning. It's absolutely stunning. And it's a special livery as well. I am holding a 1 to 18 scale Spark model, because that's important, because the 1 to 43s are not quite as fun because they're a bit smaller, of the Williams special livery from the Singapore Grand Prix, and it is Alex Albon. And honestly, it's absolutely stunning. The blue livery with the Gulf orange on it from Singapore 2023, when Williams had the special livery. Let me hold it up to a camera.
Do you know my favourite thing about it?
Oh my God, it's gorgeous.
Christian.
What?
Is that they've got Alex Albon sat in the car, like the little Alex Albon.
They all do, yeah.
No, these ones don't.
Oh, no, those ones don't. But so, well, we're going really geeky here, but this is Spark. This is really, really good. They're a really great model. Comes with its own display case.
Well, go on then, put it on the thing.
There we go. Like that? I'm just trying to hold it up to the camera so the YouTube viewers can see it. How are we looking? There we go. Oh.
Go on then, put it on.
So I put it on the shelf?
Yeah, put it on the shelf.
Okay, right. So hang on, just before I do, Williams, thank you. This is amazing. Right, hang on. Let me put it on the shelf. Well, it needs to be taken out, this cellophane, but we can do that, can't we?
I think I would have preferred Colapinto's foot, to be honest.
No.
Would have been more interesting. No, I'm joking. That is cool.
I'm putting it behind Betty and I'm moving the helmet temporarily.
Are you not going to take the cellophane off it?
Well, no, we'll do that at the end, won't we? That's not brilliant podcasting. We'll put the helmet there, next to the little helmets. And Williams have also... Hang on, let me get back on mic. Hang on. Williams have also... you know, when we were talking the other day about the helmet. So recently, both Mike Crack and James Vowles commented that we'd got a Lando Norris helmet on the table.
Oh, yeah.
And we said to both Aston and Williams, listen, you send us a helmet, we'll display it. And again, anybody noticing on YouTube on our coffee table,
so big.
we've got a... which driver is this, Jimmy? Is this Alex or is this Logan or is this Franco? Do we know? I think
it's not Franco because it's
it's Vegas, isn't it?
Yeah,
so
Vegas.
I'm guessing Alex's Williams helmet from last year at Vegas, but it's stunning as well.
On one of our previous episodes, we spoke to the guy that designs their helmets, and so he probably designed that. I'm guessing.
Williams.
Assuming.
Sorry, I've just googled it. That is Alex Albon.
That is, producer Jimmy. That is Alex Albon from Vegas last year. His helmet design.
That's a sick helmet. That's incredible.
So cool. Genuinely, Williams. We will display it in the studio. Thank you so much, Team Williams. That is so cool.
On the subject of Williams, this is actually, I want to stay talking about Williams because this is an example of someone that has been inspired by the Fast and the Curious and is a little bit more meaningful than that toy car.
It's
pretty
a
as
model.
It is.
It's not a toy.
Anyway, so this comes from that episode that you and Greg did with James Vowles and Christina, the wind tunnel engineer from Williams. They were chatting to you and Greg, obviously, weren't they, about, you know, what it takes to work in Formula One and how to get a job in Formula One. And Kylie, not Minogue, just Kylie, our fan, slid into our DMs to say that she applied for a job in Formula One after listening to that episode.
Oh, that's nice.
Which is amazing news, isn't it?
Yeah, and on that note, I spoke to someone at Race Against Dementia the other day, which is Sir Jackie Stewart's dementia charity, which we did a special episode on over the winter because my mum suffers with dementia. She heard that episode and therefore applied for a job with Race Against Dementia and got it because of that episode. So we can make this guarantee now. We guarantee that if you listen to this podcast, it will find you a job.
Yeah, it will. Kylie, keep in touch with us. Let us know how it goes, what it's like. And the application process for all of those graduate jobs and sort of early careers places is still open. And we're going to put the link in the episode. So if you're interested in working in Formula One, that might be your way in.
If Kylie gets the job, also, I think it's only fair that this podcast gets 10% of her salary. You know, we need to keep the lights on. Can't all be NordVPN. You know, we need to get some revenue streams in somehow.
Another thing that we're pinning to the notice board, Christian, is a birthday message.
Oh, how nice.
Yeah.
Whose birthday is it?
Very community of the community notice board. Sorry. Whose birthday is it? Happy 18th birthday to Ava in Canada. Are you going to sing happy birthday? Because I know how much you love singing.
Yes, I am.
No, please don't.
Happy birthday to you.
Anyway, Ava has been listening for
Happy
ages to the podcast,
birthday
loves learning about the world of Formula One. So, Ava, thank you so much for listening. And happy 18th birthday. It was a very long time since Christian was 18 years old, as you can tell.
Happy birthday to you.
Wow. I think even Greg would be quite impressed with that. Right, anyway, the final
For
thing.
she's a jolly good fellow, for she's a jolly good fellow, for she's a jolly good fellow.
And so say all of us.
Happy birthday,
The
Ava.
final thing on the George Russell community notice board is that we've got a couple of guests that are coming on the podcast.
Ooh.
Any ideas who?
Ava, whose birthday it is.
No.
No.
There aren't any races until Austin. We've got this big old break, haven't we? So we're going to be getting loads of voices on, loads of people, loads of personalities from the world of Formula One. So we're not going anywhere. So if you're going to get bored in this break and miss Formula One, stick with us because we're going to keep Formula One alive, aren't we? For 5
This
weeks.
podcast solely.
This
We will keep it
podcast
alive.
on our own. So first up, the voice and face of many things in Formula One. He's on Drive to Survive. He's on F1 TV. He's a bit of a Formula One legend, isn't he?
He
Do you know-
really is.
do you know who I'm getting
I think
at?
I know who you're talking about. Oh, Buxton, aren't you?
Oh, Buxton. Will Buxton's coming into the studio. We always love having him on. And then you know who's coming up next,
Oh,
don't
I
you?
know. This is so. We love Will, and we're very excited to have Will. He's been on before. Someone else who's been on before, but the last time we spoke to him was on stage when he was still working as a team principal, coming into the studio to grace us with his presence. The one, the rock star. Gunter Steiner is going to be in the studio.
Yeah, I can't wait. I can't wait. As if
Can't
he's coming into this
wait.
studio as well.
Excited to ask him his views on the recent swearing gate in Formula One. Gunter, what
Yeah.
the do you think about it?
Also, he better bring a helmet or something. He better bring something.
Well, we'll get him to sign the helmet, won't we?
So, if you've got any questions for Will or Gunter, please get in touch at Fast Curious Pod on your socials. Let us know what you want us to ask them. If you've got any pressing questions, get in touch with us.
You could banter with Buxton or something with Steiner. Help me.
Are you okay?
No.
Do you need a coffee?
I think I do, actually.
Oh,
Yeah.
great. Well, thank you so much for listening to the Fast and Curious F1 phone-in.
Oh, I enjoyed the phone. And thank you very much for your calls. That's all we've got time for.
Yeah, and stay in touch. We're on social media. We're everywhere. So get in touch with us. Any questions for any of our guests, let us know. Any questions for this loser, let us know. And if you want anything else, just get in touch. See you soon. Bye.
Bye, loser.
Oh, wait 1 second. I've forgotten to do something.
Oh, yeah.
You ready? H-O-T-T-O-T-O. Now it's time for us to go.
If I'd have done that, the amount of sighs that it would have been produced.